The Haftorah is the story of Hannah, who is, it's also a story about pregnancy. She is praying that she's barren, and she's praying that she should have a child, and then she does. And her prayers are heard, and she gives birth to a son who is dedicated to service in the temple, and he's called Shmuel. That's his name, Shmuley. And it's a nice story. Okay. I wanted to say a few words about it, even though we're late, because it's something that happened actually last week, and it's about our friend Renee, who's here. Some of you know Renee sang with us for several years, many years ago, and then she took a break for a while, and Kohenet Yael was singing with us. Kohenet Yael is not able to be with us, and we're so grateful that Renee was able to step in. But stepping in brought up some issues. Okay, it brought up some issues. That's what I'm going to read about. The other day, Renee came to me to discuss a dilemma. She was having trouble leading these prayers because on one hand, she wants to be really authentic, but on the other hand, many of these words just don't feel authentic to her. She wanted to have integrity as a prayer leader and not just treat this as a singing gig. I appreciated this so much, and I shared with her that it took me many years for these prayers to feel authentic to me, and it involves a process of putting them into my own words, by making my own interpretive translations, not literal translations. The key for me has been to try to connect with the prayerful intentions beneath the words. Many of these texts are over 1,000 years old, and some of them over 3,000 years old. On top of that, reading English translations can sometimes bring up connotations of today's American brand of fundamentalism, which only adds to their distance. But if we can connect the prayerful impulse beneath the words with our own prayerful impulse, then the ancient words can merge with our own prayerfulness so that we pray not merely as individuals, but as voices in the chorus of our people and of our history. But how do we do that? Ironically, when Renee came to me with her question about how to be authentic, in doing so, she was being completely authentic. And what was that authentic impulse? It was to engage in a process of transformation. In this case, to find a way into integrity with leading the prayers. And in a sense, this is really the essence of these High Holy Days. To engage in some kind of process of transformation. To become aware of how we want to change for the better in this coming year. That's it. If each of us can bring that question into our lives and take steps to affect that transformation for ourselves, then we've done our job. But in order to ask ourselves the question of how we might change in a true and deep way, we first have to do something even more fundamental. We have to become present with ourselves, not as we'd like to be, but as we are. Life is busy, and it's easy to hide from ourselves and live only on the surface of the great ocean of being, amidst the movement of the waves of life. If we want to get below the waves, into the depths of the ocean itself, we need to put a pause on all that momentum. We need to stop doing and take some time just for being. We need to sing, we need to move, we need to contemplate, and on the deepest level, we need that silence. We need that meditation. This is why the most central practice of Rosh Hashanah does not consist of any of these problematic words. It is simply listening to the sound of the shofar. As we chanted earlier today, the words of Psalm 47, Allah Elohim b'teruah, Adonai b'kol shofar. Elohim rises up in the blast, Adonai in the voice of the shofar. These two divine names, Elohim and Adonai, are so instructive. Elohim is actually a plural word. What does it mean? It means gods. That's what it means. Yet, it's conjugated in the singular. So, the hint here is that all of the forces of existence are part of one reality. And Adonai is really not the name at all. It's what we say when we see the four-letter unpronounceable name, which really means existence or being or reality. Allah, besides being the divine name of the Muslims, in Hebrew, Allah means rises up, hinting that our experiential sense of the sacred arises out of our connection with reality, that is, with whatever is present here in this moment, when we become present. And that is the attentiveness called forth by the sound of the shofar. In this very real sense, God is not about believing in some deity. Rather, God is a relational word. This is so important. God is not a solid noun. It's a relational word like friend or teacher or mother or enemy. If someone asked you, do you believe in friend? That would be absurd. Friend is not something to believe in. It describes a certain type of relationship. In the same way, God describes a relationship of prayerfulness, of awe and reverence that we can have with reality. Not a divine being, but being itself. Prayer, then, in its truest sense, is a response to our recognition of the sacred. God has gifted us with this moment, with this life. What is our response? When our response includes the aspiration to be co-creators of ourselves, to take ourselves by the bootstraps, so to speak, take responsibility of who we are to become, then we tap into the spirit of these holy days. That is why in our Haftorah, which we didn't read, Hannah is barren at first, but she longs for a child. And when that longing reaches its peak, she expresses her aspiration in prayer. The description of how Hannah moves her lips quietly as she prays becomes the model in our tradition for the Amidah, the most core prayer of our tradition, which is daven silently. Not silently, but quietly. Then, when her prayers are answered and she conceives and gives birth, she names her son Shmuel, which is Shema El, meaning listens to God or God listens. Either way, it is the God within us listening to the God all around us. An I meeting a thou, waking up to that impulse of transformation through us.